Thanks, Sophie. 1 in 2 of us will get cancer. Tonight, we're live from the Cambridge Biomedical Campus, which has just received more than £170 million for future research. Our health correspondent, Nikki Fox, will be finding out how the money will fund bespoke cancer care that could help all of us in the future.
Being able to be tested through this programme has made a big difference to me. I would be on a very different set of drugs now, and that's what it's all about, is just minimising my risk for the future so I can carry on with my life.
The money will also boost groundbreaking science, which is already saving lives. Janine Machin, our science correspondent, has been given exclusive access. And I'll be hearing the honest, personal stories of treatment and survival.
People want you to say you're fine, even when you're not.
And that's exhausting.
That is really exhausting. It's really exhausting.
And in other news, an inquest has ruled that failings at a care home led to an elderly woman being killed by another resident.
They didn't offer the right kind of care to the woman who attacked my mother. Had they looked after her properly, then my mother might still be alive today.
Welcome to the Deakin Centre, which is at the heart of the Cambridge campus here. And as you can see, I have an invited audience, and we all have something in common, including me. We've all either had cancer, are being treated for cancer, or living with the disease. And I'm sure many of you at home know someone that could be sitting here as well. Before we hear from some of the people here, I want to give you a sense of where we are, because this place is really huge. Now, let me just give you a sense of where we are, because this is the biggest biomedical campus in Europe. And as I said, we're broadcasting from the Deakin Centre. That's the small white building there. Just to the right of that is the main hospital with its radiotherapy suites and chemotherapy ward. Cancer Research UK has its Cambridge Institute here, where scientists will be using that multi-million-pound grant to find out how new cancers develop, grow and spread. Next door to that, AstraZeneca, the pharmaceutical company which is researching cancer vaccines. And I also want to show you this. Doesn't look much at the moment, but this car park is now going to be the site of a brand new hospital totally dedicated to cancer. So that's where we are. Let me introduce you to some of the people here. We have Lisa and Julia, and I know that you've benefited from a kind of new approach that's being used with cancer, personalised care, and some cutting-edge science as well, which I know is going to get a boost from that funding. I can't wait for everyone to hear your stories. We'll chat more in a moment. But before I do that, I want to come and say hello to Fiona over here. Now, Fiona, you've been living with cancer for more than 20 years. You're also a really important person here because you have helped inform what's going to take place at that new cancer hospital that's going to be built on the car park.
That's right. Not just me, but lots of the people in this room and patients who are deeply embedded in the project. The involvement of patients is going to create a much better outcome for the hospital, because you're getting all the information, the knowledge, the experience of patients who have got a good idea of what kind of services they need and a great idea of the environment in which they'd like that to be delivered. So we're going to get a better outcome, and it's going to be a great hospital built for patients,
really
with patients.
I'm pretty excited. I know you are. You've been showing me around the radiotherapy suites here at Addenbrooke's Hospital. We actually started in the waiting room, and we all know what it's like to sit on one of those chairs.
You're just sort of sitting on this horrible bucket plastic chair with your stomach churning and not knowing whether you're going to walk out relieved or wondering how life was going to change.
It's a big experience to sit on one of these chairs, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And of course, when it is good news, when you're at a stage where there's no visible disease. You want to kind of, jump down the corridor and laugh and hoop, and you mustn't do that because there are people sitting there who are at a very different stage of, what's happening and who are anxious and so on. So
you were diagnosed more than 20 years ago, weren't you?
Yeah, 23 years ago, almost exactly, actually. I turned out to be a huge tumour on my left kidney, about as big as a decent-sized baking potato.
It was this time of year. You remember it?
Yeah, I remember going to fireworks and thinking, will these be my last fireworks? And, I didn't know if I was going to see my son get through even primary school at one point, but he did. He got through senior school and university.
But now you're a nana.
Yeah, I am. I have this amazing privilege of being a nana.
So the radiotherapy suite, well, one of them anyway in the hospital is down here. You had how many sessions?
25 over Christmas and New Year.
This is where you have to lie, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they're very precise, aren't they, when you lie on the
Oh, yes, heavens, yeah. I mean, I think all radiotherapy patients have got a tattoo, a little dot or
I've
two.
Got two.
Yeah, I've got 3 that help them to line up the machine very, very, very accurately.
And how is your life, your quality of life now?
Well, my life's pretty good. I mean, I've got advanced cancer. I'm taking some drugs to try and sort of hold it. I play wheelchair basketball. You just kind of put one foot in front of the other, really. It's tiring.
Physically tiring or mentally
I
tiring?
am physically tired a lot of the time, really tired. But it's emotionally tiring as well, because people want you to say you're fine, even when you're not.
And that's exhausting.
That is really exhausting. It's really exhausting.
Your cancer can't be cured.
No.
So you have to wake up every morning knowing that you have cancer and it's there and it's not going to go away. Is that the first thought that you wake up with in the morning or not anymore?
You don't forget for long, really. Actually, while I was putting some slap on this morning, I thought, I've got a bit of a headache. Then I thought, oh my God, I've got a brain tumour. I think you think that all the time. So it's in your head quite a lot.
Well, during those 23 years that Fiona has been living with cancer, there have been so many developments with diagnosis and treatment. One of the main ideas now is to use science to really understand a person's individual tumour and then develop a personalised treatment programme to try and help that. Some of this new money is going to be supporting more research into that. It was piloted here for a breast cancer programme, and we can tell you tonight that it's also going to be rolled out to the Norfolk and Norwich Hospital, where my health correspondent Nikki Fox has been.
Amelia, this is where people come to be screened, and incredibly, this state-of-the-art mammogram machine was paid for entirely by the hospital charity. Now, as you mentioned, this personal breast cancer programme started in Addenbrooke's, but it's now rolled out to Ipswich and Colchester, and we can reveal today it's taking its first patients here in Norwich. Now, for some women, it gives them the information that they need to make the incredibly difficult but potentially life-saving decision to have preventative surgery, including having their breasts removed. So what is this here?
So it's a memory wall, really. So it was actually my husband's idea because we wanted to make the most of any days where I was feeling okay.
When 41-year-old Julia Beeden discovered a pea-sized lump under her armpit, she didn't expect it to be breast cancer. But she says she felt more optimistic about her treatment after tests mapped her DNA and told her the exact type of tumour she had.
Being able to be tested through this programme has made a big difference to me. I would be on a very different set of drugs now if I didn't have that result. And, those drugs might not be as effective in reducing the reoccurrence of cancer. And that's what it's all about now, is just minimising my risk for the future so I can carry on with my life.
Some experts think there are at least 11 types of breast cancer. These images show the difference between just 2. That's why scientists are preparing more samples for DNA screening. It's early days, but a third of women on the programme have had the management of their cancer changed.
Personalising a person's treatment allows them to get the correct treatment that prevents the disease coming back but doesn't overtreat them and cause excess toxicity or side effects or issues that they've got to live with for a long time.
Julia's DNA testing found her BRCA2 gene that helps prevent cancer was mutated. That dictated the type of breast cancer she had and put her at a hugely increased risk of it returning. That information helped her decide early to have preventative surgery.
The important thing for me was to get back to my life. It's definitely a new normal, but it's as close as I could get. And for me, that was getting back in the swimming pool, you know, being out and about, being able to go dancing, go back to work, that kind of thing. I don't want too much surgery on my horizon. So for me, it was key to get that information up front.
Julia's brother's now awaiting testing to see if he's at increased risk, while she and her husband are focusing on the fun things in life. She feels the extra knowledge about her cancer has given her the choice to make decisions herself. Nikki Fox, BBC Look East.
Julia, as Nikki was saying, this could now be offered to many more people. I mean, if someone... Thanks, Jenny. Yes, I'm at the Deakin Centre on the Cambridge Biomedical campus, which has just received more than £170 million of funding for future cancer research. And all of us here have something in common, don't we? We've all been affected by cancer in some way. Now, I promised you a look at some groundbreaking science. We met Lisa briefly earlier, and Lisa has been given CAR T-cell therapy. My colleague Janine Machin has been finding out a bit more about that.
Our blood contains an army of T-cells, whose duty it is to defend us against infections and diseases. But sometimes they struggle to recognise and fight cancer, so scientists have found a way of helping them. It's called CAR T-cell therapy.
Is using the power of the immune system to attack cancer. At the moment, the most successful CAR T-cell therapies are being used for patients with some types of blood cancer, and these are really complicated and therefore expensive treatment to deliver, and that means they're not available as the first line of treatment. They tend to be reserved for people that a first line of conventional treatment like chemotherapy has not worked for.
So how does it work? In a nutshell, the patient has some of their own T-cells harvested. These are then sent away to a lab where they're modified so that they target the patient's specific cancer. They're then multiplied, so there are loads of them, before being re-infused back into the patient and left to go to work. And that's what Tommy's in for today.
Is it 15 minutes?
About 15 minutes, yeah.
I've been on quite a long journey with this non-Hodgkin's lymphoma for quite a few years now, but hopefully this is going to be the end of it.
The cells are taken out of the dry ice and warmed at the bedside before being loaded into a drip.
There they are.
Cells like Tommy's have to be sent to the USA or the Netherlands for modification. But in a year or so, that should all change thanks to a new lab being created just a 5-minute walk from the hospital.
And this is where it will all happen. This is a new part of the Cambridge Cellular Therapy Lab, built by the university but run by the NHS. So, when a patient's cells are harvested, this is where they'll come. They'll be put into this airlock before being taken out, and they will pass through a series of rooms and airlocks behind me. In each room, the air gets more pure. It's all about cutting the risk of contamination.
The difference that this lab will make is that we'll be able to manufacture our own T-cells here on campus. This will increase the availability to our patients, it will save the NHS money in the long run, but also it will fulfil the needs of the cancer research hospital that's currently being built.
Lisa Noble's cells were sent to Philadelphia. She was one of the first to have the treatment at Addenbrooke's. After several failed rounds of chemotherapy, she had around 2 weeks left to live when the CAR T-cell therapy started. Now, she's cancer-free.
It's just amazing. It's amazing that that treatment's there, and I know it's got better and they've got more knowledgeable since even I had the treatment. We wouldn't have seen our 25th wedding anniversary, which was 2 years ago, and I've had 3 grandchildren born since.
But the side effects of this therapy mean it is far from a walk in the park. Lisa was among the 30% of patients who needed intensive care for a time afterwards. But the new lab will be used to create new generations of the therapy which are kinder on the body and have the potential to work on other cancers too. Until then, it's a treatment that many patients feel lucky to have. Janine Machin, BBC Look East.
And you know what, we've had an update on Tommy this evening, who Janine met, and I'm pleased to say that everything is going well. And I know, Lisa, you were relieved to hear that news because you know how tough that treatment is.
Yeah, for him it will be worth it in the end, but what he's going through now isn't going to be very nice.
But your testament to the fact, absolutely, it is worth it in the end. Now, look, when we talk about cancer, we often talk about waiting times, don't we? The amount of time you have to wait before you hear whether it is cancer or not, and then the amount of time you have to wait before you actually get treatment. I was just interested to all of you here, what wait was worse for you? Who found waiting to be told it was cancer the worst bit? So a few of you. And who found that actually waiting for treatment to start was the worst? Yeah, I have to say I agree with that as well. Let me just talk to Professor Richard Gilbertson. I mean, that's the point, isn't it? You can have all the cutting-edge science you like, but what patients want is a quick diagnosis and quick treatment.
Yeah, you're right. And of course, behind every hand tonight is a story. And the waiting lists are a national challenge. But, you know, at CUH, at Addenbrooke's here, we're actually outperforming both nationally and regionally those waiting lists. So whether it's a 62-day average standard or whether that's the faster diagnosis standard at 28 days. And one of the things we're doing to do that is to put community hubs in Wisbech and Ely to make sure that we're reaching out and getting diagnosis quickly.
Now, when it comes to this new cancer hospital that's going to be built here, we saw the car park where it's supposed to be. I mean, that hospital is now being put on the government review list. That means there is a question mark over the timeline. How disappointing was that for you?
I think it's more expected. So because it doesn't have what we call the full business case yet, which we'll be submitting next year, I'll say the outline business case is already approved by government and the Treasury. We'll be submitting it next year. So that is on the review. But actually, we very much hope and expect that we're on target to deliver this in 2029. In fact, we've already begun to be breaking ground soon.
You want to get those diggers in the ground,
Absolutely.
don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, when do you think that might happen?
Well, actually,
then?
that's slated. We've already built the car park to replace the car park that's going to be dug up. And hopefully we won't find too many Roman remains in there, which will hold things up with the archaeology, but actually in the next few weeks.
But the difference that cancer hospital will make then to the region when it does get
transformative. I mean, not just for the patients and their families here in this room, but across the UK. I mean, we're designing a hospital which will change the face of how we treat cancer forever, not just regionally, but nationally and internationally.
Now, just briefly, we've heard about the developments over the time that Fiona has lived with cancer. What can we expect in the next 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly exciting. So we heard already about waiting lists. Many people don't realise that cancer is in your body for 7, 8, 10 years before you're diagnosed.
Is it?
We're not waiting.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so in Cambridge, we're not waiting. We're not waiting for that. We're going to use physics, chemistry, engineering, mathematics, biology to discover it way back when you don't even know you have it. And the idea is to detect it early, give minimal treatments, so you never realise you have cancer. It's gone before you know it.
Okay, well look, we'll have more from our audience in just a moment, but hasn't it been warm today? I mean, you know,
In Cambridge.
Thanks very much, Alex. Well, if you've heard the words, I'm sorry, it is cancer, you will know that life is never really quite the same again. But as we heard from the professor, there is hope, and this region is leading the way. Thank you so much for watching tonight. Thank you very much to my audience as well. And I'm going to leave you with some more of their thoughts and experiences. From all of us in Cambridge, good night.
It is a very difficult journey. The fear is numbing. You kind of have to be at peace. You kind of reach a point of being at peace with the life you've had.
It hit me that I probably wasn't going to see my garden in flower again.
Last year, I decided to go on a dream holiday, which was to go to Iceland and New York. And that's something that if I hadn't had cancer, I probably would have put off and go, I'd go in a couple of years' time or in a couple of years, 10 years down the line. But now I'm like, no, I need to go now.
There's a little bit of bitterness because it's taken some of my childhood away. But the leukemia has also made me stronger. And I've gone on to have a lot of opportunities that not many people may have. I've written a book, I've got a degree, learned to drive.
I've done so much more since pancreatic cancer than I did after. I've travelled the world, I've set up my own business. There has to come a point where you try and find acceptance. And once you can find acceptance to it, then you can have a bit of peace.
I appreciate life itself. I appreciate the world. I appreciate my family. It has changed me no end.
I think it makes you reassess what's really important. I think you also actually learn who your real friends are and who's there to support you. And I think it makes you not sweat the small stuff.